Hey there, welcome back to our channel, and if you are new here, I'm Ben from Real Estate Raw, and today we're heading to the middle of the desert, Qatar to be exact, where something absolutely mind-blowing is happening. Picture this. Endless dunes, scorching sun, not a drop of water in sight, and yet, out of this sandy nowhere, skyscrapers are shooting up like they're defying gravity itself. We're talking gleaming towers, luxury hotels shaped like crescent moons, and entire cities built from scratch, turning sand into fortunes worth billions. How do the Qataris do it? Is it oil? Magic? A deal with some desert genie? Nope, it's raw, real, and way more fascinating than you'd guess. I've been digging into this, and what I found is a story of guts, vision, and a knack for turning nothing into everything. Over the next 10 minutes, I'm taking you behind the scenes of Qatar's desert money machine. How they've spun sand into skyscraper gold and what we can learn from it. Buckle up, because this one's gonna blow your mind. Let's start with the basics. Qatar's this tiny thumb of land sticking out into the Persian Gulf, smaller than Connecticut, with just 2.8 million people. And only about 380,000 of them are actual Qataris. The rest? Workers from all over the world helping build this insane dream. 100 years ago, this place was a sleepy speck of sand. Pearl divers and fishermen scraping by, no one giving it a second thought. Then, bam, oil and gas hit in the 20th century, and suddenly Qatar's sitting on one of the world's biggest natural gas fields. They're now the richest country per person on the planet. But here's the kicker. They didn't just sit on that cash. They turned their sandy backyard into a global real estate playground. So how do you go from sand to skyscrapers? Step 1: vision, crazy wild vision. Back in the 90s, Qatar's leaders, the Al Thani family, said, "We're not just gonna be an oil pit stop, we're building a future." Enter the Qatar National Vision 2030, a blueprint to make this desert a hub for the world. I'm talking about places like Lusail City, a $45 billion project that's basically a sci-fi movie set come to life. They took 14 square miles of barren coast, dredged up sand from the sea, and built 4 man-made islands. Now it's got curvy skyscrapers, a stadium that hosted the 2022 World Cup final, and plans for 450,000 people to live there. I heard about this guy, Ahmed, who grew up near Doha in the 80s. He told me, "Ben, where Lusail is now? That was just water and sand, nothing. We'd fish there as kids." Now he walks past the Qatari Towers, a 40-story hotel shaped like a crescent moon, and he's like, "I still can't believe it. That's the Qatari way. See sand, dream big, then make it happen." Step 2, they've got the cash, and they're not afraid to splash it. Oil and gas gave them the startup money, hundreds of billions of dollars flowing in, but instead of blowing it on private jets and gold toilets, they poured it into real estate. Take Doha's Skyline, 150 skyscrapers today, and they're aiming for 300 by 2030. There's the Burj Al Fardin, a glass giant twinkling over the city, or the Doha Tower with its Mashrabiyya-inspired screen. Fancy Arabic latticework meets modern vibes. But it's not just about throwing money around, they're smart about it. The Qatar Investment Authority, their sovereign wealth fund, owns chunks of everything from London's Shard to New York's real estate scene. Back home, they're betting big on their own sand. I talked to a developer friend who said, "Ben, they don't just build, they brand. Every tower's a statement. Qatar's here, and we're world-class." Step 3, engineering wizardry. Building on sand sounds like a nightmare, right? One gust of wind and your skyscraper's a pile of rubble. But the Qataris figured it out. They dig deep, sometimes 100 feet or more, until they hit solid limestone bedrock. Then they drive massive concrete piles into it, anchoring these giants so they don't budge. For places like Lusail, where it's all reclaimed land, they compact the sand with heavy machinery, layer it with gravel, and test it like crazy to make sure it holds. I read about this engineer Sammy who worked on the Pearl Qatar, an artificial island with villas and marinas. He said, "We'd spend weeks just stabilizing the ground before a single brick went up. It's like building a castle on a sponge, but we made it work." That's grit and know-how turning sand into something solid. Step 4, they sell the dream. Qatar's not just building for Qataris, they're luring the world. Lusail's got luxury shopping, golf courses, and a Formula One track where Lewis Hamilton raced in 2021. The Pearl Qatar, it's a playground for expats and millionaires. Yachts docked outside Venetian-style canals, all carved out of the Gulf. They've got tax breaks, free healthcare, and cushy incentives to pull in foreign cash. I met this expat Maria who moved to Doha from London. She's like, "Ben, I came for a job, but I stayed for the lifestyle. My apartment overlooks the sea, and I'm living better than I ever did back home." That's the genius. They're not just stacking concrete, they're crafting a vibe that screams, "Come here, get rich, live large." But here's where it gets raw and real. Step 5, the human cost. Those skyscrapers don't build themselves. Millions of migrant workers, mostly from India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Kenya, and other African countries, poured in to make it happen. They're the backbone, but it's tough. The kafala system ties them to employers, and stories of long hours, brutal heat, and sketchy conditions hit hard. Some say thousands have died over the years. Qatar denies the worst of it, promising reforms, but it's a shadow on the shine. I talked to a worker Raj over a scratchy phone line. He said, "Ben, I send money home to my family, but it's not easy. We build their dreams while chasing ours." It's a messy truth. Those fortunes come with sweat and sometimes tears. So, what's the big picture? Qataris turn sand into skyscraper fortunes with a killer combo insane vision, deep pockets, engineering chops, and a knack for selling the dream, tempered by a reality check on who's really lifting the load. They've gone from a dusty nowhere to a global player in decades. Could you do this? Maybe not on their scale, but the lesson's there. See opportunity where others see nothing and hustle like crazy to make it real. That's it from Real Estate Raw by Ben. What do you think? Could you turn your own sand into gold? Drop a comment, let's keep this raw and real. If you're vibing with this, smash that subscribe button. We're cracking more wild stories next time. Oh, and check my last video on Swiss millionaires. It's a perfect chaser to this desert tale. Catch you soon.